Okay, let's just bring you up to speed very quickly. The Judge President in the Free State, Masimola, first of all confirming the urgency of the matter on whether Free State delegates can attend the conference. She was saying that alleged irregularities at the time were not sufficiently explained at several branches. She has listed those branches. Proof of holding of these branch meetings could have been provided, she said, by the respondents, but they did not. She also spoke about irregularities tarnishing the run-up to the conference. The order does not impact on those who are properly registered parties. She was also saying in time we'll have to talk to each other. That impacted on a decision regarding costs, but shot down the contempt of court order against Ace Magashule be arrested for ignoring court orders to return branch meetings. So my understanding, Thulasizwe Simelane, who is with us now, senior political reporter, is that certain branches within the province will be allowed to attend, but those where irregularities were found will be excluded. Am I reading that correct?
It sounds like it, Jeremy. I mean, we'll still have to go through. It's always better when you've actually seen
look at the judgment,
and read the judgment for yourself to understand what exactly the judges are saying.
And also the numbers attached to those branches. Yeah.
Absolutely. But I mean, remember that this was basically a challenge about the compliance with the court order that had already been granted. Remember the court order that said the Free State ANC needed to rerun the branch processes in 29 branches, and these disgruntled members in the Free State then said, well, they sort of rode roughshod over the whole process and did not comply. The way that those branches were rerun was not compliant, and I think this is what the judges are upholding. But also attached to that, Jeremy, the order that says the elective conference of the Free State that was held just about a week ago is unlawful. I think that's quite significant, because the entire standing of Ace Magashule, Mosebenzi Zwane, people such as William Bulwana, who are members
the new
of the
order
PEC.
that came in, yes.
Right. Their entire standing and the 27 votes that they are entitled to as members of the Provincial Executive Committee, a Provincial Executive Committee in the ANC, hinges on them being legitimate people before this conference.
Which the court has negated.
Which the court has negated, and there's no fallback position for them in any case, because their mandate had already expired in March. This was their attempt to sort of get the mandate renewed in a way, quickly get it renewed before we go to conference. Well, it seems the judge says that was non-compliant.
All right, it's easier to do the math when you've got the judgment in front of us. But what I want you to do, if you can, and bearing in mind this is a sensitive issue and I don't want us to get this wrong, if you look at what has happened in KwaZulu-Natal today, if you have a sense of what has happened in the Northwest, and also the decision that has been made in the Free State in terms of the potential delegate impact on the conference which starts tomorrow, would this be a body blow to Nkosazana Dlamini?
So, Jeremy, I suspect that the ANC's commitment to upholding the rule of law and complying with judgments, even when they are painful for the ANC, is going to be tested here, because in the time that we were sitting here listening to the Judge President of the Free State delivering that judgment, a statement dropped in my inbox from the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal, basically talking about the execution order, the order that says the judgment that was delivered that nullified the 2015 Provincial Elective Conference in September. That judgment is the word they're using is it's now subject to the Supreme Court of Appeal, as it is a quote-unquote automatic appeal for the ANC KwaZulu-Natal chapter.
But measure that against the clock. What does that mean? Because we're literally down to the wire here.
So the way that statement from KwaZulu-Natal is crafted is very clever, in that Mdumiseni Ntuli doesn't address directly the issue of what exactly does this mean in terms of how you view yourselves. Will you vacate the provincial ANC offices as a PEC, because this judgment has been granted that says execute this order of September immediately, pending your appeal, which we allow you to do. And if they were to then vacate that office, it would automatically mean they don't attend as a PEC, because they cease to function as a PEC. But he crafts it in such a way that he uses terms like automatic appeal. Well, automatic appeal, what does it mean? Do you execute the execution order as it is now while you are appealing it in the Supreme Court of Appeal, or do you comply with it and don't go as a PSC? So we are in a very strange terrain legally, and also with the Free State as well. We wait to see what Ace Magashule and his leadership will do.
I understand that, but as we on the cusp of the start of proceedings tomorrow, my understanding is there are less delegates potentially able to exercise their right to elect new leadership of the party.
Without a doubt. So if these orders of the courts are not violated and are complied with, and the ANC does what it, and to their credit, they've actually been complying with court orders over the years. So if that happens, basically it means that the delegation from KwaZulu-Natal will be that number, and I haven't gone back to brush up on that number again, but it's close to 900. Will be that number. It was supposed to be plus 27, but now it will just be that number without the 27 PEC delegates. Same with the Free State. If this order is executed as it is, even if it's being appealed, it will basically mean that it's the delegation of the Free State, and if I'm not mistaken, it's about 409 thereabout. Minus, well, not minus, it will now not have the additional 27 delegates, but also the branches that the judge singled out as not having followed the processes are likely to lose out on all of this. Plus, let's not forget the 38 branches in Bujanala, where basically the court has found that the processes there.
Which the ANC, which leads me to my next question, which the ANC says, Gwede Mantashe is saying today, the Secretary General saying, they respect that decision. So when it comes now to potential challenge in the Free State and the KwaZulu-Natal, would it be up to the provincial leadership to lead that challenge, or might there be a diktat from head office, so to speak, which says either you challenge this or we respect the
That's
judge?
a great question, Jeremy. And actually, as you ask it, it takes me back to the ANC versus ANC case that I attended in the Northwest, which, you know, the outcome was today. There were arguments at length as to who is the legal person that is the ANC, who has the authority to, you know, take up litigation and to respond to litigation. Does it reside with the provinces, or does it reside at Luthuli House? And I remember Advocate Tembeka Ngukaitobi being involved in that argument with Advocate Terry Motau also in that case. So that's what it boils down to. I think the understanding is that the right to institute legal action and to defend legal action resides at Luthuli House. So this is why you now, Jeremy, have this situation where there appears to be a contradiction. The Northwest case, Dakota Lekhwete, the provincial secretary, says we will appeal. We will appeal everything, including the Bujanala Regional Conference nullification. Gwede Mantashe says we will rerun the regional conference because that doesn't impact the national conference. We will rerun that. We will appeal only as it relates to excluding the members from the 38 branches from participating. So this is where the ANC will also need to decide who decides on these appeals. Is it Sihle Zikalala in the KZN PEC, or is it the ANC at national level? Because in any case, the ANC nationally is always cited as a respondent to these papers, and it's a national ANC constitution matter. That
I'm assuming that those telephone calls are being made as we speak. Let's look at the big screen behind us. That's Nicholas Bauer in Bloemfontein. Nicholas, good afternoon to you. First of all, just for clarity's sake, run us through this judgment.
Well, Jeremy, you're asking for clarity, but things bit as clear as mud at this point in time. The judgment handed down by a Free State High Court full bench. The Judge President here, Masemola, essentially saying that this court order doesn't give the respondents or the applicants everything that they want. But cutting to the heart of the matter, the big things, the recent Free State provincial elective conference is null and void. That controversial conference that took place in Parys at the beginning of the week is now no longer declared lawful and its outcomes thus null and void, and also the branches that failed to rerun their branch general meetings, that in other words led to the illegality of the entire provincial elective conference, they are also barred from attending the Nasrec National ANC conference that begins tomorrow. So not necessarily the atomic bomb that we were expecting out of Bloemfontein, with all Free State ANC members being barred from the Nasrec elective conference tomorrow. But what I can tell you is that as I read things, and according to the legal eagles that I've spoken to in court, from their reading, the Provincial Executive Committee that was due to go to Nasrec tomorrow cannot. Does it mean that the previous Provincial Executive Committee that was served before those that were elected at the unlawful Parys conference, does that now fall to them? That remains unclear. And also we have no idea exactly how many delegates are attributed to these branches that are now barred from going to Nasrec tomorrow. Jeremy.
Nicolaas Bauer, stay with us for the moment. Two important points that he raises. One, we've got to wrap our heads around the number of delegates from the branches. First of all, before we get there though, the point that Nicolaas raises about which PEC now has legitimacy, or if there's any legitimacy to both of them in terms of attendance tomorrow, is critical.
And Jeremy, this is this is where it gets really ridiculous, because as Bauer was saying that, I was actually reflecting when he says the previous PEC. Which one? Because legally, no matter how you look at it, no matter what angle you come at it, the Free State has not had a PEC since at least March, because the ANC constitution is clear. The PEC will, that's the word that they use. They don't say should, could, may hold a conference every 4 years. It says will hold a conference, a provincial structure will hold a conference every 4 years. 4 years for Ace Magashule and his crew was in March this year. They know this. Gwede Mantashe sitting in Lutuli House knows this. And interestingly, Gwede Mantashe's approach, he mantashed, as they've come to say. When I spoke to him a few months ago, I think it was September, he said to me he had warned the Free State PSC that you are actually candidates for dissolution of that entire structure for us to put a provincial task team, because your mandate expired. And just a week ago or so, he suddenly says the Free State PSC is legitimate and will be at the conference. This is where it really gets really muddy.
Okay, Nicolaas, explain to us now, if we can, is there any further recourse now for the respondents in this matter?
Well, the thing is, with this being 2 minutes to midnight, or any other time-bound phrase that you want to use, Jeremy, this is, as far as I understand, the last court date of the year down at the Free State High Court. So in terms of actually finding leave to appeal, I don't know if they can do that in the next couple of hours. Court, as far as I understand, officially draws to a close in 15 minutes' time. And also part of the order that was handed down by the Judge President Chair Masemola, they had a couple of harsh words for the respondents in terms of furnishing signed legal documents that would have helped their case. Unsigned affidavits were handed over with their papers, and as such couldn't be taken into account in arguing as well. And also, unfortunately for the respondents, from their point of view, they were unable to furnish proof that those branches were those branch general meetings were rerun within the prescripts of the ANC constitution. So the way forward, I'm not too sure. With this judgment just literally being handed down about 10 minutes ago, I'm sure that Gwede Mantashe and others' hotline at Lutuli House is ringing off the hook with the way forward, because like I've said throughout this entire time down in Bloemfontein, time has run out. And what this means for the ANC National Elective Conference tomorrow, which is now less than 24 hours away, it remains steadfastly unclear.
Nicolaas Bauer in Bloemfontein, thank you very much indeed. You need to regroup, get some more response. I know that you'll be talking to Gareth Edwards in Afternoon News, which begins in the next 10 minutes or so. I guess you need to go and work the phones now.
Absolutely, Jeremy. It's an extraordinary situation we find ourselves in. Let's not forget, Ace Magashule. This is the second time this has happened. We were just here in this very situation in the Mpora Makatsa case, which actually opened all these floodgates where the ANC basically now also sort of embraces that court proceedings are part of their reality. And I cannot rule out the possibility of further court action. I know Bawa was talking about the end of the court year, but there's the urgent
courts have been known to sit in the early hours of the
absolutely morning. And if there's a question of whether or not today's 3 court judgments will be complied with, it's not unthinkable that someone will go back to court to say, let this be implemented right now.
Appreciate you hopping in. Thank you very much. See you at Nasrec tomorrow.